So I finally got around to reading some of the comments that I received recently on a video that had a surprisingly large number of views for me. Um, and they were very interesting. I enjoyed it, and I replied to several. I haven't finished reading them yet. Um, and several people criticized the volume and just the general poor production, and I think they're quite right. I don't think my technical presentation is good at all. Uh, that's just how it is. But I thought to myself, well, when I speak like this, so I'm speaking right into the phone and just holding the phone, that's probably going to be loud enough. I hope so. It'll be clear enough. So I went on Amazon and started looking at all the various devices that can be purchased to be more compliant, professional. And I considered the prices and so on and so forth. And I don't know whether I want to be, a YouTuber anyway. So if this will work, I'll do this. And if it won't, I'll get something better, posher. They're not cheap, those things. You can't be buying rubbish either. If you're going to get something, you have to get something that's decent, I think. This is what I've discovered. I thought, well, I could put one of those GoPro cameras in the Mazda and then I could speak while I'm driving. Well, that's just a stupid idea, isn't it? I mean, we don't need anything like that, and we don't really need me. I'm quite critical of anybody who's listening to me. I'm sure you've got better things to do. But, because I've listened to other people also from time to time and have found their words to be helpful, then maybe mine will be. That's all. I mean, if we were sitting in a room together, I suppose we could take it in turns to say what we think. I mean, some people were, quite displeased with what I said, and that's fine. I don't really mind at all. And sometimes I misspeak, and that's another risk, of course. And as far as I can, I try to correct it. I did it over the interracial marriage. I didn't exactly misspeak, but I needed to clarify. And also, of course, I needed to clarify when it seemed that I was referring to all women. I mean, we're all tainted by the same brush, I suppose, to some extent. But then our conduct and our understanding and perhaps our nature even. This is something I've never been quite sure about as in my faith, because in my own experience, I became a Christian very late in life, but I kind of I think I had a spark when I was very young. I took an interest somehow. It had inspired me. And I don't know whether it was the Presbyterian, was it, church that my mum used to take me to, just for a short while, really. She stopped when I was about 14, I think. But I must have enjoyed that. But I was inspired. Maybe there was some television program. I liked the stories of heroism and glory and kings and righteous kings. I felt inspired by those things. I think a lot of people are, a lot of men particularly, but maybe not everybody or not everybody to the same extent. I don't know. And then when I started doing paintings, I painted crucifixions, I painted 3 crucifixion scenes when I was about 15, I think. And I'd never read the Bible. I wasn't aware of, really anything. I just found them so powerful. And then I painted a cross and a throng of people as though they were going into a church. And I gave it to my auntie, my mother's sister. I mean, they weren't very good paintings. I've still got them. But that's I was inspired to do that. So maybe I was a Christian already. And that certainly wasn't through anything, that I'd done. But then I lived my life, freely, and had no thought at all for the Bible. I didn't read it. I tried to follow the norms of the day, I suppose, and I was influenced by all the things that I was encountering in my life, and one of them wasn't Christianity, as it turned out. So my own experience with that, and then I had several signs, and then suddenly I started reading the Bible for some reason, because, well, there was a local church, I suppose. There was a church in town with a lot of people down there. It looked like a nice social gathering, and I thought I could fit in, and it would be nice. So maybe. And they said, well, come along to the Alpha course, and off I went. And then, what Bible shall I have? And of course they wanted to give me the New International Version. But there was a gentleman there that I'd met from the Black Country, as it happens, which is where Dudley is, and I have a connection with the Black Country. I don't know quite why. Well, I do know why, actually, because I think my family was originally from the Black Country, and I'm talking about great-great-grandfather. So not people that I've known, but I believe they were Black Country people. And Dudley's sort of in the heart of the Black Country, I think. So there you go. I ended up in Dudley, going to a King James Bible believing church after a few years. And, on paper, shall we say. But it's always on paper, isn't it? It's just a statement. Yes, it was a man from the Black Country who advised me in an undertone at the big Pentecostal church. He said, get the King James Bible. And I liked him. I'd already struck up a conversation with him. He came with a mate of his who spoke with such a Black Country dialect I could hardly understand a word. Really spoke proper Black Country. I can't do it. I won't even attempt to try. But you could listen to it online, probably. I'm sure there's some people speaking Black Country. It's an interesting area. Very interesting. So, yeah, I'm not, I don't know. I hope this works. And I suppose out of all those, thousands of people that listened to what I said, some people have stayed on and actually subscribed. That's what I would do. I mean, if I hear something that I like, I just subscribe automatically. But I'm sure I miss an awful lot. So if you subscribed, then hi, it's nice to be here. And, I hope you comment if you want to. I try to speak properly, but who can say? I think it's a great impertinence, really, to speak at all, actually. As Isaiah, is it Isaiah? I am a man of unclean lips. I have no title at all whatsoever. But I don't care. I've got that aspect of things, I suppose. I think I've perfected that more or less. I care. I do want to be, neighbourly with the people that are around me. I don't want to offend people, and of course you do offend people inevitably. I'm sure I've offended people that I know personally, and it's not been my intention at all. I, I really like to have good relations with everybody, but I do, I think I can speak my mind on any matter, and sometimes some people won't like it. Perhaps I've spoken too forcefully about something, but the truth is the truth, really, and ultimately, this is the issue with the New Agers. They just steadfastly turn their heads from the truth and won't consider it. And they hate even to be called New Agers, I discovered. Perhaps people know that, because many of them would consider they don't. It's considered to be a kind of, what's the word? A negative depiction to call somebody a New Ager, as though you were calling them a rude name. But because they see themselves as being returning to the old age, so they think it's a complete, or some of them do anyway. The pagans and the heathens are not interested in the new age. They are interested in the old age, which was destroyed by, they think, Christianity. You see, so it's quite a stark divide. Now, I've tried to explain that when I understood that it's not Christianity that destroyed it, but it was, I thought at the time, the Catholic Church. They are confusing the actions of the Catholic Church with the words of the Holy Bible. But they still weren't really interested. They just assumed. But it's only latterly that I've realized my error, because it's not that the Catholic Church has misrepresented the Word of God. It's that every church has done so. You don't have to go to the Jehovah's Witnesses or the Latter-day Saints. You'll find the same wickedness right down the road in your local Baptist assembly or independent, what do they call them? Evangelical communion or something like that. It's the entire church has misrepresented the Word of God. And so, but even if I make that claim, I don't think, well, so some people maybe, you can't persuade anything of anybody of anything, actually. You have to have, I suppose you have to have a mental opening to a certain type of idea before it can penetrate. And we are fairly, what do they say? The stubbornness of the mind, and the stiffness of the neck are things which are often remarked in the Bible, and I think we're all affected by it in some measure, of course. It's quite easy to think. I've found it quite easy to imagine that I'm actually cleverer than I am, or more knowledgeable. And I don't know why that happens, but I think it happens with quite a few people, because if you once you know your ignorance, then you can really spend some time trying to understand things and study things more. We have to, I think one has to be a little bit skeptical of our own ability to analyze something. So my own, for example, you form an opinion of something, and then, well, on what basis did you form it? Okay. What were your givens when coming to that conclusion? Are you missing something? And so that really is a matter of epistemology also. That's why it's so important. That question, how do you know? How do you know? It's very important. I spoke to a very high-ranking Druid on this matter. High-ranking, I think, he would be considered. I don't know whether they have a ranking. He's got white hair and he walks barefoot. I'm sure that counts. I think he tends to wear a robe as well rather than ordinary clothes. This gentleman, who's a very nice man, I will say, just in case he ever hears this. I mean, he would be, I'm sure, very interesting. And he was trying to, when I told him that I believed the Bible, he mocked. Oh, you can't believe that. The written word, you see, he explained, the written word has been corrupted, and the Druids know this. And he really would claim that beyond it's the oral traditions which are valid, and only the Druids really you need to study. Well, where did he get that information from, you see? I asked him. You're telling me this, but on what? Did you find a book somewhere that you read? Did somebody tell you? Did you have a dream? And I'm sure all of those things are true. And another thing is that he's an ex-graduate of one of the top British universities, although now, yeah, perhaps my age or perhaps a bit younger than me. A graduate. I can't remember the the subject or of his qualifications. I think he might have a doctorate in something important. So I was out of my depth chatting to this fellow. And when he denied God, really, it was quite interesting because there was a poster on the wall behind him, a poster of a Buddha, and it fell off and it fell on his head at that moment. It's odd how things go, isn't it? God bless everybody today.